Hi, it's Philippa here. Just before you get to the episode, I just wanted to tell you about something really exciting that's happening in October that Robbie and I are taking part in. And I'm talking about the HSP Awakening Summit. It's virtual, so it's online. It's totally free. It's been organised by the wonderful Jen Corcoran and Josh Sperano. And it's all about raising awareness for us HSPs and also for non-HSPs so that everyone can recognise that sensitivity is not a weakness. It's different, that's all. 30% of the population are thought to be highly sensitive. Equally 50% men, 50% women. That's 2 billion people. 2 billion people, folks. There's a lot of us, and I think a lot of HSPs just don't know that they are highly sensitive, which is why Jen and Josh have put together the HSP Awakening Virtual Summit, and Robbie and I are both taking part, and we are really excited to share this with you. So what is it about? There are 25 talks, I think, 5 each day over the 2nd to the 6th of October. And by the end of the event, HSPs and also non-HSPs will discover the many benefits of embracing the gifts that come with being a highly sensitive person. And some of the speakers actually refer to that as high sensory person. It's the same thing. The days are split into themes: learn, grow, sell, lead, and thrive. It's just so exciting. There are so many phenomenal speakers. I've had the great pleasure of connecting with them all over the last couple of months. It really is going to be brilliant. And I want you to know about this. I want you to know it's free. You can sign up now. You can have your name put on a waiting list now so that when the summit goes live, you'll be told, you'll be informed, and you can book which talks you want to listen to. All of them, if you want to. They will be available for a week afterwards. So you don't have to watch them on the day. You will get a recording and they will be available for a week. So please, if you're interested, if you know anybody who might be interested, please sign up and give our speakers all some love on the week of the summit. I will put the link to sign up in advance in the show notes. It's a bit complicated for me to actually read it out, so I will put it in the show notes. And if you're listening to this nearer the time, you can Google the HSP Awakening Summit. And I've tried that. It does come up, and you can book what talks you want to listen to at that time. But also, please go to the link and sign up in advance so that you don't miss a thing. Okay, that's it for now, and on with the episode. Sarah, hi. Good morning and welcome to the HSP Connection podcast again.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
Yeah, and it's marvellous to have you back. We had such a great conversation a few weeks ago all about, well, I call the episode Reflections, but we talked about lots of things in that episode. And I asked you back because, to be fair, I'd asked you back before we'd even done the first one, but I wanted to talk to you about community because I know community is important to you. I'm a member of one of your communities that you started for coaches, and you've started another community. Yeah. So clearly that is something that's really important to you. I have realized in the last few years it's really important to me, having not understood the importance of it before. Yeah. And I just thought it was a really great conversation to have, and I thought you'd be the person to have it with. So here we are. So fantastic. Yeah. So can you start by telling, where should we start? Like, I mean, you started these communities. Yeah. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about why, or what's the driver behind those?
Yes, sure. Okay, so I obviously had a little think about this before you asked me to come on to talk about this specific subject. And I've been trying to backtrack kind of where it started from. And I'm not going to give you too much information, but just briefly, as I moved out of post-pandemic, moved out of large-scale organisational full-time employment into a space of working for myself as a coach, working from home, which was new for all of us, well, most of us, because of the pandemic. Initially, I recognised that, I had family and friends at home, and I had work colleagues, and that was great. It served its purpose, and I didn't know any different. Of course, we came out of that into a completely different landscape that we were all adapting to. And naturally, as an introvert, I was like, oh yeah, this is for me. I love the quiet space. I can grow my own company. I'm happy to just say hello to my husband in the morning and then get on with my day. And it was fantastic for probably a good year. And then I can remember having a conversation with my coach supervisor about this kind of space that I had, like a gap somewhere that I was trying to identify, that involved being with people, but it wasn't necessarily a work thing, and it wasn't a family and friends thing. So I couldn't quite work out what that was. And through kind of a little bit of conversation and some great questions from my supervisor at the time, I recognized that I wasn't really part of a group anymore. So a peer group, or people that if I had a really great day at work, I could celebrate with, and they would know what I was talking about. Or perhaps had a difficult day at work, and I could do with just bouncing some ideas off people. So I tried to look for a group that offered that, and there was plenty of networking out there, lots of kind of, women in business groups. But I knew in my heart that it wasn't really that I was looking for. It was, yes, networks, but the word community just kept coming up for me all the time. So I tried to think about, well, how is that different? And what would be the purpose for me in creating those two groups? And also being quite, I guess at the time, clear that I needed to recognize what it was that I needed first, create the group and hope for the best.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
And have a little bit of faith that if I felt like that, and yes, I loved working from home, but I missed a little bit of peer. I'm trying to be really polite here. I missed having that peer support, but I didn't miss the office politics.
Yeah.
I didn't miss the competition. I didn't miss the drama. So I was really clear. I thought, well, how do you put that in an advert for a group? So I just said it as it was, and people responded and said, yes, that sounds like somewhere I would be comfortable too. So it was almost like a gap that I didn't know needed to be filled for me and for the amazing people that I now am connected to and have become friendships and amazing working relationships and a source of joy, learning, support. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't very brief, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that you took the time to work out what it was that you needed, what was this gap that you felt, what was that about? And you had a look, couldn't find what you needed, and created your own. And you created your own, being completely honest about what you were looking for.
Yeah.
And then look what's happened on the back of that. I mean, that is just incredible. And I think, well done. And I think there's a real gold in there for people listening who might also feel that there is a gap in their life, or it might not be around work, it might be about other things, but if you feel there is something missing, then maybe work out what that is, and work out how you're going to fill it. I mean, in a way, that's what I did with this podcast, because I realized I needed a place for my voice. I needed to be heard. I also knew that I probably wasn't the only one feeling some of the things I was feeling. And that's when I created my first podcast, where I talked all about my healing journey and all about all of that. And now the HSP Connection podcast, which is very much a conversation place, but about meaningful stuff. And that just really fills me with joy. So I absolutely love that you've gone out and done that. I think it's amazing. What do you, can I ask you, what do you think was the can you share one of the insightful questions maybe that helped you identify what that gap was, or how you felt about that gap?
Yeah, well, I have a real think about purpose. So in anything that I do, I've learned over time, and as it comes with the kind of work that we do, is trying to kind of clarify the reason behind I'm doing something, the reason that I'm doing something, or I choose to do something. And I kind of kept revisiting, I thought, well, why do I want to do this? Okay, that's fine. So I would like to spend more time with people. Okay, that's fine. But what kind of people is it that I want to spend time with? Okay, what kind of conversations is it that I want to be having? So that with each question, there was a real sense of purpose, so that my message could be clear in terms of this is what you can expect if you come to this group. It was, and also on the flip side of that, kind of being quite specific about, and what isn't it? What won't you get from this group? Because I'm very conscious that there's a lot of similar type groups out there under the kind of guise of networking and bringing people together, bringing women together, and they all have their fantastic own purpose and their own, they serve the people that they attract. So I had to be very clear about, well, what makes this group different? What is it that's different? And the kind of key things that came up for me were allowing people to come along. So for the coaches group, so as a coach, or from the working from home community group, as a small business owner, or somebody who's, self-employed, but fully employed, but maybe thinking of making the change, so have some boundaries around what are the kinds of people that we'll be expecting to be there. But that actually they were more than welcome just to show up as themselves. So there would be no competition, there would be no awkward introductions, there would be no competitive elements around, what do I do? What am I selling? What are my products? It was like, this is actually who I am fully. So it was very much an invitation to, join the group as you are. These are the boundaries within which we operate in terms of, we'll probably be talking about our businesses. We'll probably be talking about, things that are going well and less well. So that's the kind of, I guess, the light framework. Like with the coaching group, we'll probably talk about coaching stuff, but actually there's just as much space there for us to talk about us and what's actually going on for us and what are we feeling about these things. So it's not, I wanted it to be below that surface level of just meeting somebody. It was very much around, how do we get in there and actually make a difference in these conversations?
Wow. Yeah. So I love that. I love the way that you're so purpose driven as well. You're so much more, I'm not saying I'm not purpose driven, but I think I don't know. I wouldn't say I'm quite as driven as you are. And I love the fact that you are, and you own that, and you just know that there has to be real meaning. I think I'm more feeling, I'm like, this feels like the right thing to do, so I do it. And I don't always understand the deeper purpose. I know there is one, I think, but I love that you dig into that and work that out. And it just goes to show how different we all are as well. But I do love the intentionality that you have behind that. And so the coaching group that I'm a part of, because we were all members of the it was all the life coach directory, I think, wasn't it? So and some have now left that, we're not all still on there, but that's how we all came together. And we do that remotely. And then you have your working from home group, which is in person, local to where you live on the beautiful Fylde coast, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you've got, and there you have a mix of business owners.
Yeah.
That's more location specific in a way, obviously.
Yeah. And that, I think, was because I did the coaching one first, which, I was, when I kind of went down that road, I was like, as long as they're coaches and everyone's really nice to each other, like that can be enough, because I was like, I'm conscious of my own kind of personality traits, if you like, that can be very, like a lot of structure and like a lot of detail. So I can distinctly remember saying to my supervisor, don't want to hold on to it too tightly. If I go into it being too structured and too strict, these kind of groups need time to evolve and come together. So they probably feel quite differently now as to when we very first met. They evolve over time, don't they? And the face-to-face group, has been a real heart warmer, really, because it's such a mix. That's the difference, I think. It's such a mix of people, all women. that have come together, and it's been a real learning curve for me in terms of challenging my own assumptions, which is always a work in progress.
Yeah.
About people, you know, that are out there in our communities, and the kind of, you know, people that you would walk past in the street and you would never know about them, and we never have an opportunity to meet them. And then here I have contact now with these people that have lived in the same area, you know, as me for 40 odd years, and our paths would never have crossed. And now we're like a quite a close knit community, and I don't know, it's just, yeah, it's lovely.
Yeah, and it just sounds brilliant. I wish, you know, if I still lived in the Northwest, I might be just about close enough. But anyway, I don't, so that's, you know, completely beside the point. But it sounds to me like, you know, so the coaching, we all came together because we're coaching, and that, I think the feel between us all has changed. I mean, it's been over a year now, hasn't it? And we meet once a month, and I think the few of us who are the stalwarts who turn up, like you're there obviously all the time, and I've been to nearly all of them, and you know, there's a real I could reach out to anybody, or I could reach out to anybody in there with a question if I had one, and I certainly would reach out to you, and I do think our relationship has changed, has softened maybe between us all over, and we're able to be a lot more vulnerable than we were at the beginning, because of course that's the way it is. We all had to, my thing is trust, so you know, I have to trust that it's a safe space, really, and you have created that safe space and kept us all on track and held the structure, and you know, held the boundaries, and those things are all really important, creating a community. But we don't meet face to face, whereas the face to face is about location, isn't it, and about small business and all women, and is perhaps, am I hearing it's as much, it is about work, and you will find out about each other and work and what you all do, and you know, maybe you can all support each other and get, you know, help and work with each other or whatever, but that's not the main point. The main point is that you're coming together for community around your work, but it's not solely about work.
Perfect. Yeah, that's exactly it. And it's, I think that's what gives people the sense of comfort, that it's not walking into, I guess, what feels like a more of a traditional networking group. I've been to quite a few times, and quite a few of the ladies that come to the working from home group have said a similar thing. Like they're not necessarily wanting to walk into a room and kind of have to, you know, talk about just what they do, and almost there's a feel of competition, and it's not really the networking to build business and to get business. Actually, what it is, it's about putting the hand up and saying, I have my own business, and sometimes actually it's quite hard on a human level. So is there anybody in the group that could help me with that? Equally, when somebody has a win or pulls off a project that they've been struggling with, or moves house, or their kids have, you know, going up to senior school, like it's all encompassed in there, is a very holistic view, you know. And I think it's that sense of exactly what you've just said, like there's been a softening, and I think there's a bit of allowing that vulnerability for people to come along and say, I'm here because actually it'd be really helpful to speak to somebody about copywriting. Does anybody know anything about that? Or, you know, we've talked about pricing structures, all the stuff we've talked about in the coaching group, but there's also a lot of space for saying, well, what's getting in the way for you there? You know, how can the group help, or how can we support you with that? And I think giving people, you know, the space to put the hand up and ask for help is just invaluable, you know, in this day and age where life is so fast paced and is competitive, whether you're a coach or whatever you're doing. So I think, yeah, it's lovely. And off the back of that, I would say nearly everybody in the group has worked with somebody else now in a professional capacity. So that element of it has been the byproduct. It's the kind of, you know, built some really meaningful working relationships as well.
Yeah, and as they say, people work and buy from people who they know, like, and trust. And what a better way to find out whether you know, like, and trust someone than to meet them in person, like as human to human, rather than in a sales environment. I mean, that's just incredible.
It is incredible. And I think also there's been that initial stage of people not knowing what it actually is that they need, which I think is really important, because it's allowed people a bit of space to think, well, actually, is it me? Is it the business? What is the help that I need, without any sense of pressure? So they've just heard over time, what people can help with or can't help with, or then they've met up for coffee separately, or there's these little kind of, I guess the network grows almost. And it's allowed people to go at their own pace, which I think is really important as well. I think, some people come and they contribute hugely to the group and they're happy to share anything, and other people are happy just to come and be part of it in a slightly more, observational mode. So I think allowing people the space, the framework of what the group is, but actually it's also yours to use as you need to, take from it what you need, and give back what you can. I think it's really important that when people come along and we talk about the purpose of the group, and obviously if there's new people, I'll go through that each time, is that it is what we make it, and how do we therefore all contribute in a meaningful way, and just trust that the people that will stay, the people that need the group. And actually it's only grown. It's really been very exciting. Very exciting.
And it's great. You're a born leader, aren't you?
Well, I would never have said that, but I'm surprised at the feedback I've had about the impact it's had on people, which has been really lovely.
Yeah, and I don't mean you're telling them all what to do, sort of leader, but you're leading by example. You are leading that space to be what it needs to be within the realms of what you need as well. So, if it starts going off on a massive tangent, you'll be pulling it back, because ultimately, it's there to satisfy a need in you. And it might be that it grows away from you in a way, and maybe you then go off and start another, who knows? I mean, it's early days, isn't it? But you're holding it tightly enough that it's safe, but not so tight that it's, I don't know, restrictive perhaps.
No, I think you're right. And I think that's where some of the people that have come to the group, and I would say a little bit in the kind of coaches situation as well, is that I would say that our coaches group, there is no judgment in there, and there is no, there's lots of feedback, isn't there? And support if people ask for it. And like, I've turned up a few times and I've got this, what does somebody think? But I think the fact that there's no judgment there is really big. And most people that have said, what is about the group that you enjoy? What about the group is going really well, kind of thing? What's going to keep you coming back? Is I'm saying saying that they don't feel that they have anything to prove, and that they can put their hand up if something's not gone very well, and they don't feel like they're being judged for making a mistake. It's purely a space for learning and shared experience and support. And I'm really pleased that people feel that. And I can recognize my own experience in that, of being part of groups where you don't feel confident to put your hand up, or you do feel like if you admit, maybe that you didn't do something as well as you'd like to have done, and please could have some help, it won't always be met with support. Quite often there's an element of competition running through things. So we kind of, operate in the collaboration over competition motto.
Yeah. And I would say in the coaches group, the judgment that I experience in the coaches group is all me. It's all self-judgment, so it's been a great place for me to see that in action, really, because I know the judgment is not coming from anybody else. I know that any judgment I'm experiencing is coming from me, and it has helped me work through that in a way, not totally consciously, but I know that is what I've done. And I bit by bit show up, I wouldn't say more, what would I say? I just show up more. Not that how I showed up at the beginning wasn't the real me. I always have been the real me, but more and more of me comes out in a way. So, and that's a fantastic place to do that. But, we have to feel comfortable in those spaces. Can I just go back to something you said at the beginning? So you were talking about being an introvert. So I'm an introvert too. So working at home, I'm more introverted than extroverted anyway. I'm not an out and out introvert, but I definitely am more introverted than extrovert, which really came to light during the pandemic, because I loved being at home and loved not being out and about and having to do things all the time. And working from home suits us extroverts, but there is, and you're not the only one that I've heard this from, and I realize I've done it, but not purposely, that it can get a bit too much time on our own, too much time not bouncing ideas off, not sharing things, not celebrating the wins and having somebody to talk to. Because we can then get quite insular, can't we?
Yes.
So finding a group, be it online, be it in person, that we can find a place to be in that group and get some community, becomes more important, I think, the longer we're working from home in a way.
I think so, and that's why I feel that this work that I do with the community is a long-term piece of work, in the sense that, I mean, I say work, I should say project, but it's not work, because the value that is added and the, I guess, energy that I get from it to enable me then to carry on working from home on my own most of the time, a lot of one-to-one coaching, which, as we know, it takes a lot of headspace and a lot of energy. So it's having that place where I know once a month we'll get together and it will be useful and productive and all of those things that we want it to be. We want to feel that's how we're using our work time. But actually, it's very social and it's about connection, and that is about well-being. Is really fantastic, because I didn't have that and I didn't know why I was finding things difficult, and now I do have it, and it's enough, and sometimes one of the group might get in touch and say, oh, could we just meet up and have a coffee, or should we go for a walk one evening? So, and there's those little bits there, so people can take as much as they need from it in terms of how they contribute and build the group. But it's given me just the right balance, I think, whereas previously it was too much the other way. And the thought of, going into an office full of people again every day is just like, I don't think I could do it now. I'm very privileged to say that I have a choice. So creating this has been really utmost, importance for my well-being, I would say, on reflection.
And I totally get that. And because I think it took me a while to realize I was spending too much time on my own, which puts a lot of pressure on my family. Because when they come home, I'm like, I need a little bit of interaction, but they've been out at school and work all day, and they don't necessarily want to interact with me in the way that I need. So it is about meeting my needs some other way. And be it an online group, be it an in-person group, be it whatever. But getting, and it's not about getting out anywhere, though. It's about the right sort of connection, isn't it?
Yes.
Because I've definitely had a tendency to go to a group and think, oh, I don't fit in here, which, is I'm working on it. That's always my go-to. I don't fit in somewhere. That's my childhood story. But I think I would, in the past, have always thought, oh, that's my fault. There's something wrong with me, which is why I don't fit in. Whereas now I fully appreciate that, I might well not fit in there, but that's not because there's anything wrong with me. It's just not a great fit. It's not their fault. It's not my fault. It's just not a great fit. So where can I find a great fit? And just, maybe persevere a little bit until my guard has come down, or find another group.
It's absolutely that. I think it's the, again, which I guess goes back to the purpose of it, was ensuring that people felt comfortable. Because again, on my own reflection, the amount of times I've walked into a room, networking or conference or that kind of thing, and I feel like there's almost like a different version of me has to be there. So I have some standardized answers. There's probably a high chance that there's a bit of anxiety running in the background. I'm questioning everything that I say. That was real for me for a very long time. So I absolutely wanted to ensure that cards were on the table, that my intention was absolutely to keep that out of the room, the virtual space or the real space. because I have seen that in people when they walk in and they're like, I'm here because I want to be able to just be myself. Like they're able to articulate that, and not have that almost feeling like they have to somehow shapeshift to fit in. And I think a lot of people can do that, and that's fine if you can. You know, some people are able to have a lot of different hats and they can wear them all comfortably. But I don't know. I feel like if I was going to put myself out there and take, you know, a little bit of that responsibility for creating that group, it had to be, it had to do what I said it was going to do.
Yeah.
You know, we couldn't pretend to be something we weren't, or it just wasn't going to work.
Yeah, I know. And I've tried quite a few networking, and I could definitely try again. I've definitely fallen off that sort of, I don't want to say wagon, whatever. I've not done it for a while, but I went through a phase of going to somewhere, you know, you have to turn, you know, when everyone, you go round the table and everyone does their little pitch. And I know that I don't enjoy those because I feel really, I got better, so I suppose it is trying it and persisting, and I got better, and it got less salesy because I thought that's the whole point of it, and then I realized it wasn't. And I think partly that's because it wasn't held properly. It wasn't about, okay, yeah, we're all business owners, but tell us about yourself, you know. That's who we're more interested in. So I think if I go back, I'd either go to a different group, or I'd go to maybe some of the same groups that I went to before, but turn up a bit differently, because that is what I need to do. And like, if that doesn't work there, then that's fine. I'll, you know, go somewhere else. It's really, is that what the networking groups that you've been to, are those the sort of things that you've come across?
And you know, I can see how valuable they are if you are, you know, if you are in that place, and that's where you feel comfortable, and you really at that point in your business, for example, where it really matters to you to go out and make those connections that are going to lift you up and that are going to drive you forward, you know. And so I can understand that those groups will always exist, and they're amazing, and like the local ones are fantastic, and people are getting nominated for awards, and it is very much about the outward facing, you know, this is about you and your business, and let's lift you up, and which has its place. And I think over time what I've realized is that I was very purposeful around not using the word network in anything that I did, because with the working from home community, it was slightly different with the coaches stuff because we were connecting as coaches. But with the working from home, I purposely said, you know, this is a networking group. If that's how you want to see it in terms of your business, then that's fine. But actually, that's how the word community is different. And that's why that word needs to be in the title for people, because I think a couple of the group actually said to me, I wouldn't have come if it had said working from home network. I'm here because it says the word community, and about the softness of the word community and actually what that invites and what that offers. So I think the sense of community, when I think about it, is the almost, you know, you could take the work element out of it really if you wanted to. You know, I think that's the anchor that brings us together. But when it comes down to it, it's a group of women that, you know, most of us have children, but not all of us. We've got a lot of commonalities. You know, we are all at a similar stage in our life. You know, these are not things that were prescribed as to being part of the group, but it's the people that need to be there have come together, and we've naturally formed a group where we have things in common. On paper, you probably wouldn't look at that if you looked at what we do individually. And if you just looked at us as job titles and, you know, functions, you would think, wow, that's a strange group to bring together. But when you look at us as humans, you're like, what an amazing group. The energy must be amazing in that group. And that's what lifts us up and gives us the confidence then to make better choices in our business. So, it's like a back to front networking group, possibly.
Well, I just think it's bloody marvelous, whether it's back to front, whatever it is. And I love that you said that on paper, it's I don't know what word you use, sorry, but you know, on paper it doesn't look like a natural bunch of women to bring together, but actually it really, really works.
And
I know that you you know, you occasionally you put posts on Instagram about it, and people might see it that way. But you share a little bit about you on, you know, I know you've got a dog. I've never met you in real life, but I know you've got a dog who's a naughty spaniel, and I know you've got a young son, and you work from home, and I know vaguely in the bit of the country you live. So there's all pointers there that are going to draw in people who are feel like they might have something in common with you, and want to be in community with you, because you'll get wherever they are. So it doesn't surprise me that you've brought together a group of women at similar stage of life, and with all those things. It's a real example of how sharing yourself, sharing enough of yourself that you're comfortable to share, is creating this wonderful community. I just think it's awesome, and thank you for coming and sharing about it. We've ended up having a much more of a conversation about it than I thought than maybe we could have had. And one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you about it is because Robbie and I have just started our own community on the back of our podcast, and we're bringing together highly sensitive women in an online group. It has to be virtual because half of us are in the UK and half of us are in the States. But the way we started that was we said, look, community is really important to both of us. This is what we want for ourselves, and we want to create it for other people. We actually don't know what it's going to look like. We don't know really what we're doing, but what we do know is that our heart is really in it, and we are committed to making it the best that it can be on the basis of what we all need as far as we are able. So we said, we'd love it if you'd sort of come and join us, and let's see what we create together. And 10 women came and joined us straight from the off, which has been incredible. And I think there's been a few of the things that we've talked about here. There's enough structure to keep it feeling safe, and that you know what to expect, but not so structured that it's sort of restrictive. And we've been quite vulnerable and open from the word, from the beginning. And we're all highly sensitive, which is kind of the common thread through us all. But we all do different things. We live different places. We're all at different stages of our lives, actually. It's really interesting, isn't it? How, there's so many people out there in the world, and we don't know that many of them. And like you said, your local one, there's all these women that you now know that you didn't know before.
It's amazing. And I love the fact that for you, you're at that point where you just trust it enough that there's a need for it, and that you trust enough in yourself that you will hold the space that people need. And also that you're trusting the other people to turn up and take what they need from it. And I think that's what's been a massive learning, for me, is that this group, I hold the space for the group, but they make it what it is, because they show up and they bring the themselves fully to the group, and they are at a point where they're able to ask for what they need and take what they need and give something back. And the other point, just to touch on about what you've just said, is that in the harsh light of day, actually loneliness is a massive problem. It is a massive problem for us in the UK, globally, and we recognise now the impact of that in our mental health and our well-being, and actually how that wasn't a thing previously. Like, we are known to live in communities. Humans are hardwired to be social beings. We're not wired to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, get on a train, spend a day with people we may or may not really like, in an office that we may or may not really like, and then rush home and do it all again on repeat. That we're born to be in a community, ultimately. But over time, as we've evolved and the landscape that we live in has changed, the sense of community and what it means has fallen away. And now off the back of the pandemic particularly, we're starting to see the impact of that gap. And I think it's amazing that people are putting their hand up and saying, actually, I'd like some of that back. So here it is, and I'm going to share it with people and make it what you need it to be. Because that's the beauty of the word, isn't it? Like, the community, it's ours to create.
Yeah, I totally agree. Really well said. And And I think that's a really great place to end. But before we go, I am going to remember this time to ask you, if you want to tell us, if if the community, your communities are open for new members, where can people find you to get in touch with you and find out more about your communities?
So I do spend quite a little bit of time in Instagram land, and my handle is sarahgreen_coaching, so you can find me on there. I also have a website, which is just sarahgreencoaching.co.uk, nice and easy, and my email address is on there with a submission form. So if there's any queries about being part of any of the groups, or just generally about a bit more about my background and what I do and what I offer, then it's there. And I'm always happy to connect, build a community, build it.
Build it. Yeah. What is it? Build it and they will come, which I'm not
sure.
Apparently, I'm not sure that's always the case, but you can certainly give it a go, can't you?
Yes.
So, that's great. Thank you so much. I've loved this conversation. Thanks.
Thank you. Me too. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to HSP Connection. If you've enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any future episodes. Also, we'd really appreciate it if you could rate the podcast and share it with anyone you think might be interested. It helps others find us. If you listen on Apple Podcasts, you can also leave us a review.
To get in touch with us, you can email us at hspconnectionpodcast@gmail.com. And we'd love to hear from you with your thoughts and comments on the episodes and any suggestions you have for future topics and guests.
We are both HSP coaches and speakers. And to find out more about Robbie, go to Robbie Lee, that's leigh.com.
And to find out more about Philippa, go to safeandsupported.co.uk. See you next time.